Hi, welcome back. You're watching Michelle with MichEllisLife. I am actually guest starring on Literary Gladiators today, and I'm so excited. Months and months and months ago, Josh, one of the co-founders of Literary Gladiators, contacted me about possibly filming an LGBTQIA video for his channel because each month Literary Gladiators have a different theme. And he knew that I mostly read literature featuring diverse characters written by diverse authors. So I was honored and I definitely accepted. Unfortunately, I haven't read as many diverse books up until this point as I had hoped. So for one of the letters, I don't have a solid recommendation, but I have recommendations that I've received from other people to recommend to you without really prior knowledge for them. But just bear with me, it's gonna be okay. So for this video, I'm going to recommend books for each letter of the LGBTQIA+ spectrum. I'm mostly targeting my choices based on own voices. Just make sure that the main character who represents that part of the spectrum is also represented in the author. Unfortunately, not all of my books fit that category. So if you do know some written by own voice authors that you would like to recommend, definitely do so down below. I'm hoping that in no way do I offend anybody by anything that I say in this video. If I do somehow, just know that I didn't mean to intentionally, and that if you want to correct me down below in the comments nicely, it's always appreciated. So let's begin. So I have 3 recommendations for the category L for lesbian. The first is a lighthearted contemporary, and that is Tell Me Again How a Crush Should Feel by Sarah Farazan. This book focuses on female friendship and romantic feelings developing between female friends. It also focuses on toxic friendships, which I thought was really important, and toxic relationships. And in the end, it was just a really cute, really adorable contemporary read, and I really enjoyed it. I love that our main character is Iranian American, so you have a person of color, and Sarah Farazan is, you know, speaking from her own personal experiences, and I really loved this book. It's so cute and little, especially when you compare it to other books. It's so tiny and cute, but anyway. If you're looking for a lesbian contemporary to fall in love with, I highly recommend this one. And then, as I just showed you in comparison for sizes, The Lies We Tell Ourselves by Robin Talley. I know Robin Talley is kind of controversial here on YouTube. I really think she did a phenomenal job with this particular novel. I haven't read her other novels, so I really can't compare. But this is a historical fiction account of when schools were starting integration, and so we have our main character being integrated into an all-white school with, I think it's 9 other black students. And not only does she have to work with the struggle of racism, which is just blatantly disgusting in the throughout this whole novel, just how well Robin Talley portrayed the graphic, disgusting awfulness that is racism. She did an amazing job at capturing it, that so many times throughout the story, like, you can feel your gut physically churning and developing so much inner hate towards people and how people can just be so nasty. Anyway, so we have these students who are integrating into the school, and we have our main character, Sarah, who winds up catching the attention of a pretty popular white girl. And they wind up having to work on a project together, and feelings develop, and then she's faced with even more adversities. It's just really well written. It takes you back into that time period. It makes you empathetic towards the characters, and I think that overall she just did a really beautiful job about writing about this time period and writing about these personal experiences and what it feels like to be dealing with, you know, your own inner dialogue and trying to figure out who you are and what you want in this life, and dealing with other people's ideas of what you should want with your life. And it's a really beautiful book. And then the last one for L is Blue is the Warmest Color by Julie Moreau. It's a really beautiful account. The images are really great, the way that it's all black and white, but sometimes they use blue to bring out different emotions. It's really good. It's about exploring sexuality, and can't really say much more about it. I don't want to give too much of it away, but it's just beautifully written, and I really enjoyed it. And again, it's by an own voice author, so always show your support. Then, unfortunately, I haven't read that many gay narrative novels, so I only have one to recommend. But the one that I do want to recommend is considered science fiction. I think the science fiction element isn't as big of a role in the novel. It's called More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera, and it is a popular book on YouTube. Our main character, Aaron, is struggling with having feelings that he doesn't want to have. And in his society, they have a clinic where you can basically erase memories to try to move on with your life. And so Aaron decides that that's what he wants to do. He wants to erase memories so he can hopefully get rid of these feelings, and he could be as he sees normal to fit in his community. My favorite aspect of this novel was that it is one of the first YA novels that I have read where it features a lower socioeconomic protagonist. You know, he lives, I'm pretty sure it was in the Bronx, you know, in a development, and you get that feeling of, you know, inner city kid. And as someone who grew up in a lower socioeconomic community, I really appreciated finally finding a book that features not only a gay character, but a character I can actually relate to and relive my youth through. So I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed the discussion about, you know, if we could change our past, if we could get rid of our memories, would we still be who we are today? I thought it was really well written, and I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, like I said, I haven't read his other novels. I've heard really good things about them, so if you want to read more gay YA, definitely check out Adam Silvera. Also, if you get a chance to meet him in person, he is so nice. He's one of the nicest authors I've ever met. So that's my book I choose for G. For B, I don't physically own the book, but I'm going to choose Far From You by Tess Sharp. This is a bisexual story. So our main character has gone through a pretty traumatic experience, and she is trying to piece together exactly what happened. She's trying to figure out what happened between her and her best friend, who was recently killed, and her feelings for that dead friend, and just trying to piece it all together and what it all means. And I thought it was a really well written book. I loved the intrigue and the mystery. I read it quite a while ago, so I don't remember too much about it. I do know enough to recommend it to you if you are looking for a book with a bisexual main protagonist. So a couple other ones that I was recommended but I didn't get a chance to read were Labyrinth Lost, Radio Silence, and I think also someone mentioned Rainbow Rowell's Carry On, but obviously Rainbow Rowell I don't think is an own voice author for that. I'm not sure which ones are. I'm pretty sure Labyrinth Lost is an own voice author writing from a bisexual standpoint, but I'm not positive. So if you do know, definitely let me know down below. For the letter T, for Transsexual, I only have one recommendation for this one as well. Like I said, I really need to up my game here. One of my favorite reads of last year was If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Rousseau. I actually have a full review over on my channel too for that book. I actually listened to the audiobook version. So this book is completely own voices. It's written by a transgender woman. It has a transgender woman on the cover as the model. It is also read and narrated by a transgender woman for the audiobook. So just overall representation to the max, and it is wonderful. I think that with our main character moves in with her father after undergoing, you know, the whole procedure of, you know, changing into her new self, her true self. And she starts a new school and she starts living her new life, but, you know, her past catches up with her and she has to deal with bullying and learning who her real friends are and just how to navigate her new life. And it's really powerful, it's really moving, and I highly recommend it. So for Q, it's my understanding that the Q kind of stands for gender queer or gender fluidity. The first I want to recommend is there's one character in The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet who is genderqueer. He does not identify as either male or female. It is stated in the book that he is genderqueer. So he's not a main character though, and I have tried to find just main protagonists to recommend for this video, so I just wanted to give it like a side note that there is a character in here who is genderqueer. Then we have Symptoms of Being Human by Jeff Garvin, and I really enjoyed this. I think I wound up giving it 4 or 3.5 stars. So Riley is our main protagonist, and my favorite thing throughout the whole novel is that as a reader and as a person, I kept trying to figure out if Riley was a girl or a boy. And by the end of the book, it just doesn't matter. And I think that was the strongest point of this novel, was that that's the proof. Like, you do not need to know. It doesn't matter. Riley is an amazing person, amazing friend, an amazing student, and Riley's just living his or her life. It doesn't matter if they identify as a male one day or a girl another day. It's their life, and they're an amazing human being. So I really enjoyed his writing. It was pretty simplistic, but overall I thought it was a really interesting look into gender fluidity. Jeff Garvin is not an own voice author though, so it doesn't fit into me wanting to recommend only own voice authors. So another side note book. Unfortunately, I don't have a solid Q choice to recommend for you. Next, moving on to the letter I for intersex. I have 2, one of which is not own voices, and the other one I haven't actually read. So we're doing really good here, Michelle. Anyway, the first is None of the Above by I.W. Gregorio. This one is written from not an own voice author. She comes more from a medical background perspective. So this one reads more like fiction with dictionary type definitions of what intersex is. There are some slightly homophobic things mentioned in this book that kind of got under my skin a little bit, so I wasn't a huge fan of this one in general, but it's out there. And then one that's been highly recommended to me that I really want to read but I haven't gotten a chance to is Golden Boy by Abigail Tartland? I don't know. But it says Max Walker is a golden boy, attractive, intelligent, and athletic. He's the perfect son, the perfect friend, and the perfect crush for the girls in his school. The Walkers are hiding something, you see. Max is special. Max is different. Max is intersex. Will his friends accept him if he is no longer the golden boy? Who is Max Walker really? I've heard phenomenal things about this book. I've heard a lot of people give it, 5 out of 5 stars, give it raving reviews. So if you are looking for a non-owned voices book about an intersex main character, I'm just putting it out there that this book is available, and if you want to read it, possible buddy read. Next we have the letter A for asexuality. Unfortunately, I've only read one book with an asexual protagonist, and like that in itself is flawed. So I was actually emailed by the author asking if I would read her book, and I said hells yes. So her book is called We Awaken by Krista Lynn. This book has a really interesting concept. So our main character is a typical high school girl, except for that she's not interested in a lot of the things that her friends are interested in. She's not interested in boys, she's not interested in hooking up, she's not interested in making out, she's not interested in gossiping about, romantic feelings. And she is genuinely okay with it, but at the same time kind of questions. And then she starts dreaming, and she meets a woman in her dreams who she kind of develops feelings for, and the woman tells her that she's asexual, that the woman in the dream is asexual. It does kind of get a little technical when they start talking about it in the dream, about what asexuality is and how they each identify as asexual in their own ways, but at the same time that's so important. As either a person who understands asexuality or identifies as asexual, or someone who doesn't know what it is, I think that due to the fact that there aren't that many asexual protagonist books out there at this time, and being one of the first in its field, that it's important to kind of have that part in there. So yes, it may seem like it's kind of being force-fed, but it's necessary in my opinion. They wind up forming a relationship, and then the the Sand Woman, as we'll call her, winds up getting taken out of the dream state and coming into the real world to help our main character in her daily life. I don't want to give too much away. I mean, I already feel like I kind of did, but it's really, really interesting. It's a really cool concept, and I definitely recommend it. The second one is Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon McGuire. It's a really short book, but our main character is asexual. She does identify as asexual, and there's also a side character who is trans. So I did like the diversity in that novel. It's an interesting concept for a book. So basically all of these children go to this boarding type school for special kids. And basically all of these kids have gone through a doorway to a specialized world, kind of like Narnia. And then they have come back to the real world, and now they don't know how to acclimate. They don't know where their place is, because the world where they traveled to was perfectly constructed for them. And so now they're lost. And so they're all in this boarding school trying to figure out how to fit back into this world. I loved that there was also the queer characters and our main protagonist as being asexual, to kind of further explore where we fit in, and it was just beautifully written. And there was also a murder mystery going on, and it was really, really good. And I think the second one comes out this year, so that's also nice to look forward to. My battery's running out. This is a long video, way longer than I thought it would be, but these are my recommendations. If you have any recommendations, please put them down below. I'm always looking to add more books to my diverse library collection, and I'm also always interested in learning more about diversity. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you are a subscriber to Literary Gladiators, and also of course to my channel, and I hope that you're having a wonderful summer. Thank you again, Josh, for having me on your channel, and have a wonderful day. Bye.